obviously our comments are null and void if there's a personal thing that we're unaware of. Let's just go based on actions over words of what we're aware of. It's not there. And Todd Monken said, if it were me, I'd be here. Smalls, how do you take what Monken said about Myles Garrett yesterday?
I think I'm going to like Todd Monken as a head coach. I think when he talks, he says things and we pay attention. He says things, he gives us a little something, which I appreciate. So good job, Coach. Myles Garrett didn't show up last year. He had 23 sacks. Defensive Player of the Year, single season sack record. I also am not worried about him being ready from a football perspective. But we're talking about what this means for the team holistically, what this means for the team as a whole, not just his individual performance, which I'm sure will be up to par as it always is.
Of course.
If he is QB1, which he is, he's the face of the franchise, and you're trying to build a new culture, trying to build a winning culture, which this organization has been devoid of for a very long time, I think it would be pretty smart for you to show up. Because guess what? You're the one that's going to have to hold everyone else in that locker room to a certain standard. So if you're there and you're saying every single part of this is important, if we want to win, if we want to turn this thing around, if I don't want my career to be wasted in a place where I'm not going to win football games, it starts with me and it starts here. But he obviously has a rhythm that has worked for him, and he doesn't think it's necessary. And it is voluntary. It is voluntary.
Were you asking, because you brought up Lamar Jackson in the comments that we heard, from obviously from Declan Doyle back in February. Are you implying that there might be a double standard there?
I'm implying that this is worth discussing.
Sure.
Because if we're just in general, as talk show hosts, entertainers, sports fans, if we're talking about faces of the franchise leading teams, this would be a face of the franchise in the exact same situation as Lamar relative to new head coach and new coordinator on his side of the ball. And we praise Lamar for showing up. Well, then we have to ask questions about Myles. And my main theme, Courtney, for bringing this up is very simple. How many times does this guy have to tell us he doesn't want to be in Cleveland before they listen? He asks out last year, they give him a new deal for him to stay. He talks about, I'm comfortable with the QB plan. What the heck was the QB plan a year ago? What is it now? I'm not sure. He then restructures his contract willingly to say, sure, I won't take money now. I'll take it later. Well, why did everyone say they did that? They said they did that because it technically would be either this year or next year easier to trade. New coach, new coordinator. He's not there for voluntary workouts. Trade this man already. Trade him.
The optics of it.
What's up, everybody? We are back. And today we are watching ESPN Radio. Evan Cohen, Michelle Smallmon, and Courtney Cronin. They're talking about Myles Garrett, the best defensive player in football. The reigning Defensive Player of the Year. The guy who had 23 sacks last season, a single-season record for a Browns player. And he skipped voluntary workouts yesterday. Now, before we go any further, voluntary means voluntary. He's not required to be there. He wasn't there last year either. And he went out and had the best season of his career. So on one hand, who cares? Todd Monken, the new head coach, said all the right things. He said, it's voluntary. Myles will be ready. I'm not worried about Myles. That's the professional response. But here's the problem. The panel makes a really good point. Michelle says, if he's QB1, the face of the franchise, and you're trying to build a new culture, a winning culture, it would be pretty smart for you to show up. Because guess what? You're the one who has to hold everyone else in that locker room to a certain standard. If you're not there, what message does that send to the rookies? To the free agents? To the guys on the bubble? And then Evan Cohen goes nuclear. He says, how many times does this guy have to tell us he doesn't want to be in Cleveland before they listen? He reminds everybody that Garrett asked out last year. Then they gave him a new deal to stay. Then he restructured his contract in a way that makes him easier to trade. Then his preferred head coach candidate, Jim Schwartz, didn't get the job. Then he says he's comfortable with the QB plan. But what QB plan? Deshaun Watson. A rookie. Nobody knows. And now, new head coach, new defensive coordinator, and is not there for voluntary workouts. Evan says, trade this man already. Trade him. Now, Courtney pushes back. She says the optics are bad, but it's still April. These guys are in shorts. It's about team building and camaraderie, not football. She says if he misses mandatory minicamp in June 9th through 11th, then she'll believe he wants out. Because then he starts getting fined. That's when it becomes real. But here's what I keep coming back to. Evan says something that I can't shake. He says, is he getting paid to be an excellent football player, or is he getting paid to be a leader? And Michelle says, both. And she's right. When you're the face of the franchise, when you're the highest paid defender in the league, when you're the defensive player of the year, you don't get to just be a great player. You have to be a leader. And leadership isn't just about what you do on Sundays. It's about what you do in April, in May, in June. It's about showing up when it's voluntary, because that's when culture gets built. Now, let's compare this to Lamar Jackson. The Ravens have a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator. Lamar showed up to voluntary workouts, and the entire sports media praised him for it. Rig. H. Fuller so. So why is Myles Garrett getting a pass? Because he had 23 sacks last year? Because he won DPOY? That's not the point. The point is consistency. The point is standards. If we are going to praise Lamar for showing up, we have to ask questions when the face of another franchise doesn't. And here's the other thing. The Browns are a mess. They've been a mess for decades. They have no quarterback. They have no direction. They have a coach who's never been a head coach before. And their best player, their Hall of Fame, generational, once-in-a-lifetime best player, can't be bothered to show up in April. That's not just a bad look. That's a sign. Courtney says the Browns have no incentive to trade him. And she's right. The cap hit would be enormous. The PR would be a disaster. You don't trade a player like Myles Garrett unless you absolutely have to. But here's the question. Do they have to? If he's quietly telling them he wants out, if he's not buying into the new regime, if he's already mentally in Dallas or Philadelphia or Kansas City, then keeping him is worse than trading him. Because a disgruntled superstar doesn't just hurt your defense. He poisons your locker room. And the Cowboys connection is real. Every time a star player wants out of a bad situation, Dallas is mentioned. They need pass rush. They have a window with Dak Prescott. They have Jerry Jones, who loves big names. Would the Cowboys trade for Myles Garrett? Absolutely. Would the Browns do it? Only if the offer is ridiculous. Multiple first-round picks. A young player. Cap relief. But here's the reality. The Browns are not one player away. They're not even close. They won 4 games last year with the best defensive player in football. Without him, they might win 2. So trading Garrett doesn't make them better. It makes them unwatchable. But keeping a guy who doesn't want to be there doesn't make them better either. So what's the answer? I don't know. But I know this. Voluntary workouts in April don't matter for most players. For the face of the franchise, with a new coach, a new system, and a history of wanting out, they matter a little more. Here's my question for you. Should the Browns trade Myles Garrett now, or wait and see if he shows up to mandatory camp? And if they trade him, what's the best destination? Dallas, Philly, or somebody else? Drop a comment. Let me know. And if you want more of these breakdowns, hit that like button and subscribe. We are building something real here. I'll see you in the next one.